No. No. Too much art. Too little time.
In a world where art goes on sale.
Good. It was just a dream.
Did you dream about another art sale?
Yeah. You were there. You had a giant chainsaw, and you were slashing prices left and right.
Did it include your drawing basics course and my perspective course?
Everything, Marshall. No course or tool was safe.
Stan, that was no dream.
Don't sleep on these deals. Save 20% on all courses and tools during Proko's Black Friday sale. From now until December 4th.
It's so good. It's catching the light on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes
All
me
right.
look better than Hugh Hefner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Sterling. How's it going over there?
Hey, good morning. I'm just cracking up from the ad. That thing kills me. So,
we had a good time on this one this year.
oh man.
Good morning, everyone out there in the chat, watching it in the future as a VOD. I hope that you've been making art and having a great time of it recently. Today, we're joined by Sterling Hundley, a person that you've seen across our channel before. He'll teach you what to do with all those technical skills that you've been building up from watching all those tutorials you've seen before. He's going to help you take all of that wisdom and help you make creative ideas with it. Today, we're going to be going over some poster design, correct?
Yeah, poster design, some ideation, and yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great time. For anyone who doesn't know, the way this normally works is that we'll have some time where Sterling will talk about what he wants to present to you, and then you can ask some follow-up questions. So if you're here live in person, please give us some questions. Sterling, I'm going to bring up your screen if you want to talk us through what you've got.
Yeah, so I'm excited to share just some of the process that goes into designing film posters and the ideation that goes behind it. I've been getting pulled more and more into film posters, and these are sometimes theatrical releases, sometimes re-release, but you'll see here I've got the RAND project if anyone's curious to kind of check these things out. I do a deep dive into it where I've got all the pieces, process work. There might be some video work in some of these, but these first three are all from that same project. This was for Studio Canal, and fantastic project from start to finish. What I want to talk about today is actually The Lion in Winter. And The Lion in Winter is actually the project I did for Studio Canal first that led to the RAND project. And, you know, there's a mystery to all this stuff, but you realize that once you get into the business, into the trade, that there is a process, there's a rhythm, there's a way that you communicate with clients and deliver these things. And it always happens within the boundaries of limitations, right? So the industry defines the limitations. This project, if you're interested in checking it out, here's the brief of kind of what I was given and kind of what I was told in the beginning. I worked with a fantastic creative director named Alison Arbor, and she's there in the UK. So the primary focus of this was to design a DVD and Blu-ray kind of covers for the re-release of The Lion in Winter. It's an Oscar-winning film with Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn. And if you haven't seen it, highly, highly recommend, because they are phenomenal in this role. But the work had to be used across a wide variety of different applications. I'll show that in a second at the bottom. But you'll see that I have a lot of different variations here. This is ultimately the final that they went with, but it had to change parameters. It was tall, it was horizontal, it was both. The type gets moved around. I actually laid out the type for all of this, and you'll see different variations on fonts and everything else. I love to do hand typography whenever possible. The one we went with wasn't hand done type, but it was after many iterations of different options here. And I'll scroll through those real quick.
Was the consideration for not using hand done type so that they could add to that later for those transformative use cases that you mentioned?
I would probably say yes, but they never said that. It's just ultimately that's the one they decided to go with. And with hand done type, I could always go back and create the font that they could actually type from too, which is,
Mhm.
I've not done it, but it's something that's very doable. And I've started the process many times, and I'd love to get into something where there's a big use case like this. And even I did a lot of hand done typography there that was kind of copied and pasted, but that's a great question. And probably the answer is yes.
Okay.
But I love some of the font play and kind of getting to explore that a little bit, but dark background, light backgrounds. I don't usually deliver this many iterations of something. Once you go through the sketch process and you kind of get approved on thumbnails, you might have a few pieces that they've selected they want to show and share and kind of reference. You usually kind of come back with 2 or 3 versions of the final, but here's new client trying to really do my best and kind of giving them some options to work with. But
Wow, look at that sales page right there.
pretty cool.
Oh
Right?
man, that's cool to get to have on your portfolio.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And so it's Amazon in the UK. That's not in the US, but across the board, it's they're even using the font here, as you said, probably because they could repeat the font and kind of copy it and use it in different languages and everything else. So this is Studio Canal's UK's homepage at that time. So pretty cool. I mean, it was a fun project to work through. And all these projects, Meshes of the Afternoon, these are things where I want you all to realize that there's a couple different ways to work with movies. One, these projects I would say are easier on one side because you're getting to a situation where there's an existing film. And for me, it's always easier to work when there's something to look at, right? So having references is really critical. The second thing is, when you're working on concepting for something that's just from text, and this is the screenplay or a design brief or lyrics or whatever it is, you're having to go through a completely different process and start with words and transcribe them completely into pictures. So one, you start with pictures and you create something that's a deviation of that. And the second option, the harder, is you start with words and you make pictures. If you want to work professionally, you're going to be fitting into that second scenario more often than not. And that's where all these incredible skills that you're developing and figure drawing and observation and color palette and everything else, composition design, they start to get to put into play where you have to synthesize things that people have never seen before. So that's the big deviation there. Sorry, I got a ping coming through here.
Just keep making sure everyone is alert.
Turn off my alerts there. All these things are here. These are different film posters. I think the first 8 on my site, maybe 10, 12, 15 are all films. And that's kind of been what I've been doing lately. So let me bump over to this, and I'm going to share my other screen here. I feel like I have to annotate anytime I'm doing something here.
I do like seeing the different iterations on the website there. So you kind of get to see like what the development work was and then the completed thing when you hover over. It's a good touch.
Thank you. All right. So the next thing I was going to share was my iPad, and it's behaving poorly. I'll tell you what, I've got a time-lapse animation here that I can share separately. We'll put up a link if that's the way to kind of do it, Stephen, afterwards.
Sure. I mean, you can also, if you want to share, if you have that animation as a video file, you can actually share that in here if you want.
Yeah, in fact, that's probably the easy way to do it. So give me 1 second. I hate being clumsy here. I have all this stuff prepped, but my iPad's not talking to my Mac right now.
They're in a fight.
Before. They're not speaking. Yeah,
those kids will work it out.
All right, give me 1 second because I do have this.
Yeah, Chad Estioko in the chat was saying, for some reason your portfolio reminds me of Dave McKean's Sandman covers. Do you know if you guys happen to share influences?
Dave might be an influence. So what an amazing compliment. So I grew up collecting comics, and in collecting comics, I have the entire Sandman collection. So if there's something you're seeing there, it's not intentional, and that stuff is deeply rooted in my soul from the time I was a kid. I didn't study Dave kind of after that, but I love Dave McKean's work. So yeah, thank you.
Those mixed media covers.
Yeah,
they were good.
Okay, so I've got this this up here, and I think the best thing, if I can find my way back to you here, Stephen, is I've got like 10 virtual desktops here. That's the
Yeah,
how it
if
goes.
you want, you can share the animation directly with the little button on the bottom, the same way you would share the screen, depending on the file type, or you can play it on your screen while sharing your screen. It's up to you.
StreamYard is cool. Okay, so you should be seeing that now. Are you seeing it?
I don't see it currently in here.
Okay, I'm sorry, buddy. This is embarrassing. It's like
No, you're fine.
the old man with his technology.
Just want to point you guys to what that whole website looked like with all that awesomely done work and everything.
There you go.
As long as that's the end result of fumbling through some tech, that's a pretty good result.
Yeah. It says I should be sharing it, but it looks like not.
Interesting. If you want, go ahead and just play it on your screen, on your actual monitor itself, and then we can actually just share your screen if that works for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. Okay, I got you. And if it doesn't work this time, then
we'll pivot.
That is okay. So this is here. There, I see it. Still not sharing?
No, I don't see that currently. Interesting.
All right, give me 5 seconds. And
yeah. In the meantime, I'm gonna answer a question here in this chat, unless you have a question for me about the tech side.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Junior Pinedo in the chat was asking. Oh, I see it's here. You nailed it. Got it working. I'm gonna add this in here. I see. What was happening was you probably went to upload the video and it had to process the thing.
I see.
Unfortunately, yeah. So Junior Pinedo in the chat was asking, I have trouble taking breaks from drawing due to the fear of losing the passion or skill. Any advice for an obsessive mind like me? I think you're a pretty focused guy when you're on a project. Do you run into that problem?
Yeah, I mean, I'm focused, but I'm also balancing life. I've got 2 kids and a wife. I'm a professor. I have projects going on all the time. I will tell you, honestly, COVID hit and I stopped drawing. I stopped drawing for like a year. I stopped doing anything for like a year. We traveled and we were just kind of all broken with everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
I had to find my passion and my way back to it by observational drawing. That's kind of what I finally realized. Like, I just need to draw things that I see because it's very fluid for me. Yes, you can get rusty, you can fall away from it, but for me, it's always been there. It's one of those, it's like riding a bike kind of analogy. But I think to be a healthy human, having a reprieve from it is good. It lets other people in. Drawing is oftentimes a singular personal activity. But I mean, we raised our kids and they draw with me, so we travel together, we draw. I've built businesses around drawing and those things. So I think that you either create a gap in separation, you give things time if you can, or you fold everything together. And it's the bonfire analogy, chuck things into the bonfire instead of starting 1,000 small fires. Identify what the big fire is and throw everything into it, and at least you know where the fire is. So I've learned this the hard way, being in a relationship with my wife and fiance, girlfriend. You have to put boundaries on things. So but yeah, I mean, you'll hear the adage, draw all the time, and that's true, but you got to live a full life too, and then make art about it. So yeah,
you need to have those experiences that then fuel the art. Otherwise, that bonfire will be a fire it runs out because there's no wood that you've put into it.
Perfect. Yeah, you have the fuel for it. Well, let me roll this and just kind of tell you what I'm doing. So this is the first brief when the project comes in. And the first thing I'm going to do with a film is I'm going to watch it. You have to know things, and we're not expected to draw from imagination. We draw from observation and we draw from memory. But drawing from imagination is really kind of it's like jazz. And if you want to be able to play jazz, you better know the structure of music. You better know the notes and the instrument like intensely well, especially if you're playing jazz with somebody else, because you can't just riff and expect to freeform if you don't have the underlying structure. So all the foundations that you all are learning and going through, you can't get to a place where you're finding your voice and you're doing things that are individual and distinct until you know the foundations, and then you can deviate from them. So all these are just drawings from watching the film, and I'm pausing and kind of going through them. You can see I'm putting little timestamps on them, and I'm learning by drawing. One thing that's really important for artists, and even some of the things that Stephen, you and I talked about that I'm getting into, which are non-creative fields and working with scientists and engineers and doctors, is that drawing is a thinking process. It's not a mindless thing that we do, and it takes time, unlike photography. So a photograph, you can snap a shot without any consideration, really, right? Snap the shot and you move on. Drawing, you have to think about it. You have to think about the process all the way through. And because it takes time, we're learning as we go. So if you remember that it's not just the drawing is the point, the learning is the point. It puts you in an interesting place where you think of it as a different type of tool than what we've been told. So these are, again, just kind of observations from the moment, just trying to learn little vignettes and understand while I'm drawing, I'm watching the movie, like, what are the themes in this movie? What's it about? And, there's a king, and he's an aging king. So again, the Lion in Winter, you start to work through this and you realize that this is a Shakespeare reference, and he's got 3 sons. And as he's kind of aging, he's wildly unpredictable, as Peter O'Toole personifies very well. And it becomes this entire thing where there's a plot to overthrow the king. How many times have we heard that before? But that's really kind of the reference through this. And his wife is the queen, she's just as mad as he is. And ultimately their intensity, their passion, their romance, their insanity, that is kind of the underlying story here. So I'm going to just scoot this forward a little bit because it's more the same.
Yeah.
But
I was curious.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did have one question about this. So for you, as you're working through, when you do have visuals to work from, is there, is this you learning the visual language of something, or following along with the materials that are being presented and seeing what else that inspires?
It's more the second, seeing what it inspires. So, the thing is that if you get into the format of, I'm going to go through this film, I'm going to draw it, and I'm going to put things together. That's called a montage, right? I don't care if you're drawing it or you're photographing it, whatever it is. Let me back that up one second here. Whatever it is, you are taking images and you're compiling them in a way that may have visual interest and contrast. And we see that, like, every single movie poster these days is a montage, and it's people posing. It's, oftentimes clips from the movie. And those they can be cool, but like, they're done all the time. And I feel like I'm getting hired right now because I'm doing things differently. And it's nice. I get to interject ideas and opinions and all those things, right? So that's what I want. I want people to hire me for my ideas, not the way I draw. That's kind of that helps me manifest the outcome. So Stephen, to your question, I'm not trying to learn the stylization so much, because really what they want is my style and my voice and my reinterpretation of the film. Otherwise they would get a designer and photo bash and montage.
Yeah.
And, so that's one of those things that develops over time. I'm getting older. So I've been developing my voice for 49 years now, give or take. Here you saw I had text. I was like, okay, well, let me go back to the text, and I just need to put down the parameters. How big is this? What size? What's the function? I had to remind myself of what I was doing, and it has to serve a couple different parameters, which you can see here. These are the actual dimensions that I'm working with. So it's got to be a poster and a DVD cover and a Blu-ray cover and all those other screens and everything else. So you saw in the finals in the beginning, I had it like really wide with extra bleed, and then I had all these crop marks and everything else. You're trying to figure out where the focus is, where the secondary read is, where the type goes, where it doesn't go. And all those things are essential. That's the function of the piece. That's the actual design of the piece that goes beyond what it looks like. So I know this is it's kind of like pro forma, kind of going through this stuff, but I want you all to know the process for something like this, and then we're going to kind of work through it a little bit here. Then at the end, I'm going to do some painting. So that's that should be fun. So
That's the carrot on the end of the stick there.
yeah. And we're gonna actually work on a project together here today too, which is cool. So
Okay. I had two things here real quick.
yeah, go ahead.
So for just one thing that I wanted to bring up, there are a couple people mentioning something here in the chat. I don't think that in any way when you mentioned the idea of photography being a rapid thing, that it's you saying anything negative about photography. I think both you and I have a massive love for photography, cinematography, videography. As a person who points a camera at many things, sometimes magic does just happen. That's the cool thing about something like street photography. But you do still compose something. But I don't think that, I think you were pointing more about the idea of you having to think while rendering something, as opposed to the idea of photography being just an instant thing where the camera just does it.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of photography. I am a photographer too, so it's one of those things. I was referring more to the instant snapshot. That's I'm here. I'm taking a quick picture. You know, to define it a different way. Cinematography, yes, but photography is the art of anticipation, right? It's choosing where to be, when to be there, and everything else. So, yeah, I mean, it's if that sounded like a slight, no, it's more of the. A photograph can be very quick in the process, and the skill drawing is very slow. In fact, we could go down a rabbit hole of what insulated illustration for years from stock agencies over photography, and it was iterations and it's how slow we move. So that was the intention. So
yeah, it's just knowing the different strengths of each individual medium. You know, it's not to say that there are a bunch of inherent weaknesses either. And then the other thing was, I just wanted to make sure that people understood why we're here and why you are talking about this right now. Sterling actually has a couple different courses on Proko outside of the college, the teaching that you do in formal universities about ideation. There are two different courses of yours that people can find. You have your voice course, and the other one right now is, I can't think of the name, Sterling.
Ideacraft.
Thank you. The most SEO friendly one, I can't remember the name of. Imagine. But yeah, so you have two different courses that are about finding your voice and then actually coaxing these ideas out of you. Kind of like breaking it down, conceptualizing it, breaking it down again, and then reconceptualizing all of those things so that you can do those things at will. If you guys want to find out more about those, you can follow the link that I have in the description, in the chat, or on screen right here. Otherwise, I'm gonna let Sterling get back to it.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. And to touch on Ideacraft real quick, it is it's the importance of ideas and storytelling and communication. And it's I've developed a workflow and a pipeline that's kind of been broadly adapted by people all over the world. That's I think it's had an impact on getting ideas out of your head and onto the page, so that you can actually work with clients, do professional work, even if it's just doing personal work. It's a tool to kind of get over that frustration of, I have something to say, but I don't know how to say it. So, but thank you. So I hope this isn't too boring. I'm just kind of going through.
No,
I'm not drawing live here, but what I'm doing now in this process is, you can see I am bringing some things over that I've already drawn. I'm recomposing. I'm designing. I'm playing with some things here. These are not compositions that will be found in the movie, but if there's a likeness that I can kind of use and have a dual purpose here and kind of work from it, I'm going to do it. This is before I've worked with I've sent anything to the client. So you have to remember that I've got the brief, I've gotten the job, I've gotten the terms of the project. We've agreed on the deadline. I do my research first. So first step is research. This is me kind of getting into the thumbnailing, which is starting to develop these things and push over ideas. I've come to the idea in this situation of these gargoyles that are found early in the film. There's 3 of them, and the director didn't show them by accident. They start with these detail shots of these gargoyles. He's referencing the 3 sons, and you would never know it watching the movie through the first time, right? Like, it's just like a textural thing that puts in context. And then like, oh, there's 3 of them. That's his 3 sons. I'm going to bring this together in a context by putting these in the same picture as his son. So you can see them in the silhouette of his cloak and everything else. And another thing I was trying to communicate was just his intensity and the intensity of the kind of final act and everything else. So I'll scrub through this here, more the same, but you can see I'm kind of developing these things into a process, and ultimately I get to a place where I package them for the client, and I'm going to number these, I'm going to deliver them. And this was what I sent the first time. And this is very typical of kind of the way that I work. I sent these out, I'm waiting to hear back. And while I'm waiting to hear back, it's like, I have another idea. Okay, I'm going to work with this tree. And I start thinking about like literally like a family tree, right? So this is the roots, the tree itself, and the tree became just a really nice visual framing element for all of it. And that's ultimately, it's always like the last one I come up with is what they went with. So I was real happy they did. And I was able to kind of send all those off. And some variation of 4A or 4B is ultimately kind of what we were working through. So pretty fun stuff. And again, that all kind of resulted in the work that I led off with and kind of shared with you. And that process is, again, working on a film that already exists. It's fairly straightforward because you have to look at. So let's go into this now. I want to get over into Photoshop and have you all help me kind of work through a project here. And
that's right, guys. You all get development credits on this one. You're all producers. Everyone gets 0.15% of whatever Sterling gets from the job.
You all get nothing. Because it's not a job. But anyways, I thought right there. Okay, there go my lights. Lights, camera, action. 1 second.
You're good. In the chat, we did have Alyssa asking, will Sterling be touching on the ideation from nothing or just words, as he mentioned earlier? This is what they said that they have some problems with. Is that what we're going into now?
That's what we're going into now. So
all right.
And I was in the process. It's still processing, but I'm trying to share that video I just put up in my IdeaCraft class as a free lesson. And there's going to be a free assignment over there as well. So I did all that stuff was still rendering when we kind of came in here. So if you want to check it out, the project, the brief is, wouldn't it be cool if we could work on Blade Runner? I was like, okay, I'm going to come up with a brief for Blade Runner for you all and for myself, and we're going to ideate on that. It's like a lot of people know it. Even if you don't, you kind of know generally the premise behind it. But you all are going to help me kind of ideate on Blade Runner right now. And I want to show you how I would walk through that process. If you want to follow up and do the assignment yourself and ideate on that, share your work for the next week. I'll be checking in over there to see if you've posted anything. I'll give feedback. And
this will be on Proko?
Yep, on Proko. Yep.
Okay. And so you said this is for IdeaCraft?
For IdeaCraft, yeah.
Okay. And so the way that this will happen, so this would be on a free lesson, you said?
Yes, it'll be IdeaCraft is kind of a bonus lesson. Okay. If we can, Stephen, kind of share that link out in the post, that would be great.
Yeah, gather in that here. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and put that here in this chat just for you guys, just that link to that course. And then on socials as well afterwards, I'll make sure that gets pushed out into the world as well.
Cool. Didn't mean to catch you flat-footed, but I thought it'd be a fun way to kind of get people to participate in class and then kind of follow up if they want. So
no, I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me share the Photoshop over here. And
all right.
Exciting.
So to pick back up, what we had been talking about was that we were going to work through making something for Blade Runner. People know that IP, so you guys kind of have that ground baseline for everything, and we're going to put something together cooperatively.
Indeed. Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everybody, for your grace and patience here. So as we start to think about Blade Runner, the cool thing is that if we time this right, we've got, this thing was produced in 1982, released in 1982. And just having some data here is great. So 1982, we will be coming up in 2027 on the 45th anniversary of the film. So it is topical. It actually is something that's kind of cool. But Stephen, maybe you can kind of help as I start to prompt people and kind of go through this.
Yeah.
If you've got people typing in the chat, when I ask questions, you can kind of call those things out. That would be great.
Absolutely.
But some of the things that you have to understand that when you're working with a client, they're going to say, okay, this is a film. I'm the art director from this studio, and we're going to re-release this film. So you have to understand first who the audience is. And this is a really important part of it, which is, who you're speaking to. And the way that you change your voice, your speaking, your dialect, all those things, it's true of your visual communication too, that you'll potentially change the way that you work and that you stylize and that you approach the work based off of who you're speaking to. So kind of having a sense of who this might be released to. Obviously fans of sci-fi, neo-noir, and all of that is good. You have the industry itself, which is serving the audience. And then you have what I call this three-sided box. And these are kind of universal ideas that apply across all audiences and all industries. You have time, you have space, and you have content. And the premise here is that you have a story. This is your content down here. And you have to communicate that story to the audience. And the more that we can kind of narrow this idea down, like, okay, there's a big story, Blade Runner. We have this guy who's really a bounty hunter. He's hunting down these replicants who are, synthetics, as they're called, that are super intelligent, super strong, and they essentially, like, they just want to live. Like that's kind of the premise of the movie, and you end up having a ton of empathy for the replicants in the film. There's a lot of other things that happen in the movie, but you want to be able to kind of nail it down and say, well, what are the actual themes that I'm working in? So what are some themes that you all might think of when you think of Blade Runner, if we put it into the format of, well, one thing versus another, right? So what are some things that you might think of as far as themes we could work with, right? So it might be things like technology, right? Versus what's a counterpoint to that? We might say tradition.
Fair.
Might not be a good fit, but
now, is this a thing where you're also exercising to see what does and doesn't actually work as a counterpoint?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
So you all have to remember, like, there's nothing in these iterations, the first pass, it's a keeper. Like you're just kind of working through that process. I think about it being a very active movie, so it might be active versus static. Those aren't really themes of the movie, but that's kind of how it happens. There's very quiet moments and very intense moments. Every good film is going to have that. But what are some things that you all can think of? I've got something in mind already, but one thing versus another, as you start to think about comparing and contrasting elements in Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, so earlier on, we have the idea of like mechanical versus organic. And then you have manufactured versus, I don't know what, like soul?
Mm-hmm.
Just to continue all of those, but we can definitely get beyond that. Some things that people have said here, I think that they're going a little bit literal. So we have so cyberpunk. Someone said steampunk, which I don't know if I agree with. Someone said Blade Runner in Ghost in the Shell.
Okay.
Dystopian, utopian. I'll take that one for this, certainly. Because one person's dystopia is another one's utopia in that.
There you go. Steve, you had another one. You said manufactured versus soul, and what was the other one?
Organic versus like
Make.
what technology? Machine?
Okay, gotcha. Machine versus organic. Thank you. Okay, great. And you had one more. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, I was just going to ask a question that one other person did ask here. They asked, is IdeaCraft required material for voice?
I would say that it's highly recommended. Yes, I would say that's the kind of the way I've built it, is learn to build ideas. You can't really get to your voice until you have a clear idea of how you're going to build ideas, how the structure works. And it's a system. It's a system that builds on the lessons learned there. So I would say, yes, it's a precursor to that, maybe even a prerequisite for sure.
Okay.
So here's one too that I like. So just man versus machine, right? So those are really 30,000 foot perspectives on this idea, but we've been able to take it from the brief itself, from the story, and we've got some really interesting things here. And this is kind of, again, we're working with the start of this thing. We have things that we're looking at. We know the story, but one of your jobs is to go back to the creative director and say, to me, this project, this job is about this. This is what the movie's about. And that's part of your interpretation and taking some ownership of the creative process. Say, okay, this is about man versus machine, dystopian versus utopian, machine versus organic, whatever it is. You don't want to tell them a bunch. You want to tell them one pairing. And then we start to iterate off. But you can see how immediately we've gone from, I need to, illustrate Harrison Ford, and I've got to do Rutger Hauer, and I've got to do all the cars and the city. Those things can come in, but we've been able to simplify this. And that is actually a design process. We're starting to design by refining things down. So let's go into this, and I like machine versus organic. That seems really loaded to me as far as it's visually rich. Like I immediately start to think of things that relate to that. But we can start with machine versus organic. And now I would like you all to kind of help me just think of things. When you think of machine, this doesn't have to be Blade Runner. This can literally be any type of machines that we're thinking of. What are some words that you think of when you think of machines?
Okay, guys, you have the assignment there. What are some words you think of when you think of machines? So for me, like the first few things I automatically think of, it's like cables, wiring, piping, and then something like a press, like an actual machine press.
Yeah. Like
are the first
old
things that come
school,
up for me.
Yeah. Cool. And it's funny you said cables and piping and wires. I'd already written down wires, so we're on the same page. But that happens, and this is part of what I want to show you all here, because we start kind of the same, and then you have to keep pushing to deviate from this. So what are some other things? What are some words that are coming in the chat?
Here, after our little time slip, we've got gears, sound, metal, heavy, maintenance, code, screen, servos, grease, oil, and then as a nice little cap, grilled cheese press.
There you go.
Also red light. Red light is a good one.
Cool. I love the word maintenance. Like that just jumped out at me like right away. Like it's because that's part of the storyline, right? So this is connecting the dots. This is where your brain starts to connect. There's a thing called priming, which is really cool. Emily Cui, I think, is the psychologist that's attributed to. She said, this is kind of the precursor to advertising, marketing, anything that you listen to and it repeats. And like we start to think about it, you can prime yourself for these things. So you prime by doing the research. And when you start doing the research and you kind of program your mind to start seeing things, you start seeing them everywhere. So if you're thinking about this film and you go out and to the first question that came in, you start looking around like, oh, there's a bulldozer there. That's a machine. This is a machine. This is like something organic. And you can't help but you've actually programmed yourself, which is super interesting just for their psychology. So cool. We've got a bunch of things there, and you all listed a bunch more. We can do this word stack, as I call it. So they're vertical word stacks forever. We could keep going and going, but let's do organic. Let's think of some things that you think of with organic. So blood, and we have tissue, people. What are some ideas? Give me some organic things.
I go for flour immediately. Running water, like a waterfall kind of thing. I get to trying to give people some time to hit after that delay here. Grass, nature, virus, bone, breathing, growing, emotion, molecules, butterfly, tendons, vines. Ooh, vines and wires, you say. Pulsating, plants in general.
Y'all good at this.
Decay.
Man, I do need to hire y'all. That's great. But Stephen, you even did it. You just moved to the next stage, vines and wires. Okay. So now we're starting to make a connection, right? we'll come back to it in a minute here, but I hope everyone's following along. Again, I know this isn't the sexiest thing to watch.
That's the
But
best part. And you've lost nobody. Don't you worry.
Okay. This is I love chasing ideas. Like this is, I know it sounds really lame, but it's like I get a sketcher's high when I start, I'm caffeinated and I go and I'm searching for ideas, and you get on a rabbit trail of something and you just follow it. It's like, oh, that would be cool. And this would be cool. So this is where it gets interesting. We would all probably arrive at similar lists and word stacks if we just said, okay, machine versus organic. Let's just kind of move out from there. This is where things start to deviate and we open up the opportunities. So let's now do word association off of this. And let's say something like maintenance. If you hear the word maintenance, give me some ideas now that relate to the word maintenance. So we might say, I don't know why I think of blue collar, like maintenance worker, changing oil, right? So I'm thinking of a mechanic.
Fair. I definitely went to the space of like mechanic or someone in the jumpsuit in general.
Yep. So imagine if you're working on the film before it comes out and those are words that pop into mind. How would you design your characters? Well, they'd probably have somebody wearing some type of jumpsuit and mechanics. And I bet if you watched Blade Runner, you would find some people who are, in the throes of blue collar work in this dystopian future who are wearing jumpsuits. I promise, like that's in there, right?
Certainly.
So like this works at the high level, but also with an existing film. So give me some other things for maintenance.
Tools, blueprint. They said in the chat here.
Ooh, I like blueprint a lot.
For the maintenance thing, I'm thinking of the the little like magnifying glasses, with the many levels of magnification that you can do.
Mm-hmm. Enhance.
Yeah. Those are the main things from people here so far.
Well, that's cool too, because even like, so if you're going through this process, and keep in mind, for as much fun as I'm having, we're still working in words. We haven't moved over to pictures at all, right? But if you have a picture that pops into mind, we're working with icons, not complicated pictures. So enhance, I don't know why I think of like a scope or something like that, some visualization, some binoculars or lens, but put it in there. Like just like this can be a really organic process, and it is. Okay, so let's go up to metal, and give me some words connected to metal.
All right, I'm going to make sure you guys know words from metal. So for me, the things that I still think of are like metal filings, sparks immediately spring to mind, the pressure between two things, like the idea of the rock in a hard place, but on a mechanical way. And then also just like a caution label, that classic like yellow and black bars. Someone says broken lens, rust, shine. Someone's still trying to get wrench in there. Oxidation, welding, chrome sharp, braze, corroded, tempered, rivets.
I've got rivets right there. Check it out. So yes. Okay. So, but now you're seeing like what you're doing is you're broadening your opportunity to make connections. Okay, so we've gone from like, oh, these are easy things and we can make a connection here. You're probably in the territory that I would say 95% of most people would arrive at if you did develop an idea. Okay, let's scoot over a little bit here and let's just take a couple ideas from the other side. Let's see. Molecules was kind of a cool one that popped up. Someone said that. So when you think about molecules, what are some things that we might think of there? I think of a microscope, right? I think about like slides that go into a microscope. I think about
slide is where I'm at. I think of something like not a molecule, but more like a bubble. And then I start pairing that with the idea of the magnify from earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And that's funny. Like that's exactly what happened. I start thinking about lenses and now we're jumping back across and we're making a connection, right? So we've got a microscope. We can kind of draw some of this stuff out.
And particles, tiny organ. Organ is fun.
Or organ's really good. Okay, so
mitosis we got here.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's pause for a second because I like organ a lot. That's a whole other spectrum. Now think on organ. Like, what are some things when you think of organ?
I think like specifically the shapes of organelles.
Organelle. What are
Yeah,
organelle?
like
Sorry,
the little bits inside of a cell that have a function. So you think of the bits that you see crush Kaori, Tetsuo's girlfriend,
Mhm.
in like inside of his body when it starts getting all crazy.
Right, right,
Things
right.
like that. That's where I get.
So even like that idea of seeing inside of something, right? So
Mhm.
it's anatomical, and that's cool. Now we're touching on something that's starting to be an idea, where we're seeing inside something and they're not human or they are human. We can kind of subvert those things a little bit. So
Oh,
heart, you said,
we got a double helix that someone's mentioning in here.
great, great, great. Double helix. Give me a few more here.
All right, so we got some more words. People put chemical bonds, syringe, circuits and nodes / molecules, surgery. Someone went for a couple people went for the idea of organ in the musical sense, so they went more for Phantom of the Opera, which I mean is fair for some parts of the film. Slime, cell wall, cross section, cellulose.
Cross section is cool too. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff, and we've just spent 10 minutes doing this, right? I will spend an hour or 2 hours just going through this process, and you can see what's happening. Stephen jumped the gun a little bit. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, but that's what you want to have happen. You actually want to make connections, right? So let me explain to you what I think ideas are. Ideas are the unseen connections between known things. So we know the things, and it's our job now to actually show the connection, to build the connection. So this is the critical step. Next is we think about this as kind of this conceptual chasm, right? So this is the space between these two ideas, machine versus organic, as we're working on it here. And they are opposing concepts. Why opposing concepts? Well, we're doing opposing concepts because that's how we draw attention to things. Dark versus light, big versus small, far versus close. We do it visually, but we also do it with sound. We do it with staging and cinematography and photography, kind of bringing it back to that. And certainly conceptually, when you start to take two things that don't relate to each other and you force a relationship, people notice the contrast and the inherent conflict. So what we're trying to do is actually show drama between pairing things together. So let's do that. Let's figure out what this kind of looks like. In a second, I've missed one step here, which is really important, which is we've got, yes, very important, but not too far ahead. We have to make pictures. And like if we did words, we could still make associations, but we haven't. The ultimate goal is to make pictures. So let's get into some of these things here, and let's think about, okay, well, a syringe. And if y'all are there and you're drawing along, you have your sketchbook or your tablets or whatever it is, draw your own pictures. And in doing that, you're thinking out loud, right? You're actually literally getting something from here on the page, and it becomes something you can respond to. Otherwise, it's like working in 1,000 layers in Photoshop, and you just can't compare and contrast things together. So I think about these slides that we have kind of, tissue on, that we look inside the telescope. We have mitosis. I don't know how to even sketch that. Surgery. I was artist in residence at this burn center. I was fascinated with the color, but also these crazy lamps and lights and everything else here.
For I just see the split. So the two things separating from the conjoined middle. For whatever that's worth.
You're saying you see the split. Explain that, like visually.
Yeah. So for mitosis, whatever things you chose to pair between those two, it could be anything that connects something, whether it is an actual mitosis happening or not, but just the two being connected in some way.
Gotcha. Thank you. So I thought I thought you were talking about a technical difficulty. All I see is the split of your screen, Sterling. We're not seeing it's like it's some PTSD, you know. Thank you. So vines, we can kind of draw what vines might look like, but you know, when I'm working with engineers and scientists and doctors, and I'm talking to them about ideation, this isn't intimidating. Like
No.
these are terrible drawings. They're not meant to be anything other than communication for you, because at this point you are still working on your own. Touch, I think about fingerprints, grass. We can certainly draw, and I'm drawing even faster than I would usually. People, I think about Blade Runner and lots of people in this kind of condensed city and everything else. So we can kind of draw a crowd scene. Blood, we're kind of back to molecules. We have veins and everything else. So what we're doing here is we're literally transcribing words into pictures, but more importantly, words into symbols. And what you don't want to do in this part of the process, I've not found that actions are very helpful. So as an example, if we said running, well, showing somebody running takes more effort. Like you have to show them an action and everything else, but you might show running shoes or running shorts or something like that. So it's the symbols of things that we're really trying to unpack and unlock as we kind of move forward. So go over here, we've got blue collar, we have mechanic. You know, there's tons of stuff that we think of with mechanics. I'm going to just draw this terrible car here. I don't know why I keep thinking of like Jiffy Lube. Like, so now you go into your personal experiences. Jiffy Lube is a place that services our oil here, but there's a guy that like hangs out down below the car, and the car's up on this kind of lift. Again, I mean,
It's continuing the maintenance as well.
exactly, yeah. So that could be a metaphor for the replicants, that someone is tending to the replicants. Like there's no scene where we see the replicants kind of, at least to memory, where they're being worked on, but wouldn't that kind of be a cool thing to show?
Yeah, no, I don't remember anything in there that does that. I like the idea of a person. You see an image. It's like a person in the middle of being split for what's the word after a person dies. They split them to for an autopsy, and so they've got that huge chest cut and everything. So you see that initially, but the thing that's actually happening there is someone trying to open up the hood to work on it. You know?
Yeah. I'm thinking Westworld now, right? I don't know if you've seen the
great visuals. Just
oh my gosh,
kind of whiffed it on the story later.
yeah, I'm with you. It was, but the visuals were insane.
Yeah, they nailed it.
So what everything you're saying there, like, do you feel your mind's kind of starting to fill with imagery? Like there's stuff that's happening there, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to take some of these symbols. So this entire structure of the mechanic working below the floor, looking up at, to change the oil, it's just a way to keep them from having to get on those rollers and work on it. Like that is the same concept that I just drew here. Like let's put the replicant on the ceiling, and now someone's working on him here. His chest is split, as Stephen is saying. That's not in the movie, but we are interjecting ideas into the story that could have happened and probably should happen. We can always bring more to the story. N.C. Wyeth talked about illustrate the story between the lines, not the story itself. And that was such a powerful thing. There's a moment where he's got Jim is kind of leaving home, terrible scribbles here, and his mother's back in the back and her hands on her face and she's crying. And Admiral Benbow is back here and he's walking towards the viewer. You won't find that scene in the story, but you know that Jim had to leave home and that his mother was heartbroken and terrified. So those are the types of things where we start to interject story and we add dimension and perspective to the things that we're doing. It's a really, really powerful thing that we get to do as illustrators. So we've got some things here. Someone said wrench. I liked just the visual of that because it's easy to sketch in front of you.
This is true. And it reads immediately. It lowers the bar for a person having to decode the image.
Exactly. It's a symbol, right? It is a utilitarian object and it's a symbol. We have a welding torch, but you've also got those really cool welding masks that look like this. That's a cool visual that we might bring into it. It can have rivets on it for sure.
There's a fun overlap between the like a welding mask and those like the plexi shields that a doctor wears during surgery.
Oh, great point.
There's a
Okay.
correlation there.
Okay. All right. So we're back to this. Steven, you're good at this, man. So let's bring some of that visuals in here. And maybe the horror is like, oh, that they're working on this vivisection of this human here, which is a terrible thing on live patients.
Vivisected was the word I was looking for.
Oh, was it really? Okay. That's odd that I knew that. And
Yeah.
so now we're going to give them a little bit of weight where their arms are kind of carrying down. And we've got this mask on, and this doctor is here. He's dressed in the coat. So you see what's starting to happen. We're starting to bring things from over here, and we're starting to build a bridge over there. So that bridge building is where an idea happens. When you take one thing that doesn't relate to something else and you force a correlation, and it creates an inherent tension, and you can show it to people, that's what draws their attention to a concept. It's a really powerful thing. And you'll see it in themes from movies all the time. You'll see it in themes in music. You'll see it. We have a word for it. It's drama, right? Drama is the pairing of things together. And when you pair those things together and they're held in tension, that's drama. So what we're trying to create with this is visual drama, symbolic drama. It's all kind of working together. So let's keep working through this a little bit here. There's a parallel, and I don't, getting to a strong visual solution on this is hard. This would probably be a hard sell to serve as a movie poster, because it's so far afield. Like it's like you're really kind of pushing the limits there. But
you think because they would say that is setting a false expectation for a person to go watch the movie and say, I never saw them opening up the body in this way.
Maybe, they also might say, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty wild scene. Let's see where that goes. So, but you're going to be hard pressed not to show Harrison Ford kind of in a setup somehow. And that's my Harrison Ford there. It's wonderful. He's got his trench coat on, and
I can see the proportions are already there. It's exactly Harrison.
Yeah. But I mean, your sketches should feel like this. They should be fast. We're iterating. We're not looking at something here. But this idea of a replicant on display. So let's we describe that. Well, we moved out of the medical sense, and I remember these scenes where there were these female replicants, and they're it's kind of spicy, but it's like the red light district. They're in the windows. That's a cool visual. That's an interesting visual of putting him in this bright red kind of green palette. Maybe there's all sorts of stickers and things that are kind of over the windows. There's graffiti here. So that's the dystopian connection. And then there's something to this figure here. Maybe it's a reference directly from the movie, but maybe we see that she's got rivets instead of, there's something subtle to it where her arm is up on the window, and because her arm's up on the window, we see rivets in her arm or something like that. Okay, let's take that further, and what does that look like if that idea is developed then, and Harrison Ford's hand, the human hand, is up on the window, and that's a terrible hand, that's okay. And then there's someone on the other side of the glass that's the replicant, that her hand is on the window, and it's got rivets in her arms. That's an idea. Like, could that be a Blade Runner movie poster? Probably not enough visually to carry it, but there's a concept there that's interesting. What you're doing is you're sharing and comparing the contrast between the human component and the machine component. And you just have to, by putting them together, you're forcing the viewer to stop and think for a moment, there's an idea there. And what does it mean? So that's what that is right there, is like, that would make a much cooler poster visually. The concept is that if we dilute it down into its design form, but maybe there's a solution where, and it doesn't have to be Harrison Ford, but that makes sense. It can just be a guy in a trench coat, and he's making some kind of connection with his replicant in this kind of red light district here. And maybe she is kind of
doing a thing.
But I'm more importantly, like, I'm not trying to make this too racy or spicy, but it's more like she's kind of down, making a human connection to him. You have to bring her down, right? So I would imagine that she's up higher, but maybe her hand is there and they're making a connection. So that's kind of a cool idea to me. Like, there's actually something there that has meat on the bone. Like, I could start to visually see where that might go. And what you would do next is, I'm a mess on my page here. I would do this much neater if I wasn't live in front of a bunch of people. But we have to think about our proportions now. Like, it's got to be an 18-inch by 24-inch image. And we start to kind of work through this thing. And there can be other people walking by. There's things in the foreground we can kind of frame, right? There's posters on the walls, all sorts of stuff. But we have to go into this and say, now let's give this some type of value so that we have hierarchy in our image. So let's go here. And
so you're imagining inside that window being lit up with the person being essentially on display for a sensible sale in some form or another, whether it's service or
I'm pretty
wholesale.
sure there's a scene in Blade Runner where you see that he's walking through the red light district.
Yeah.
And, but he's making a connection with a replicant there. And that's the idea. He ends up hunting them, but he's in this relationship with Sean Young, I think, who is a replicant. He falls in love with a replicant. So there's something to that in the synopsis of my mind. I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I should watch it back. But there's a connection that's happening. Like, yeah, that's a thing that makes sense to the storyline of this relationship of human and machine. And now we're back to machine versus organic. And and so, yeah, they're on the street and he's kind of walking by and he makes a connection. Other people don't notice. They're doing their own thing. And we might put
you got someone walking by with like their like to-go noodles in their hand that they got from a cart or whatever. Person
Absolutely.
with those like see-through umbrellas with the light rods.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Bring it in, right? And then let's make it more dystopian. And there's just there's pipes and there's wires and stuff kind of hanging down.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that stuff, man.
Oh man, I don't know if you know Jeff Darrow. Do you know Jeff Darrow's comic book work? Oh my gosh, man, that guy had a huge impact on me. And it was a comic called Hard Boiled. Which
that's a good one.
It was a total Blade Runner reference, right? But it was wild stuff going on, and Mobius and all these artists. But
I feel like now he could work on a Blade Runner project without question, with where his star is at this point.
You talking about Jeff or
yeah,
for sure. Like it, yeah. He would probably work kind of slow, right? He would have to. We could put another figure in there, and like, how much complexity do we want to bring into this thing? And now we're off and running. Let's. I wouldn't do color at this stage, but I'm going to do it just for effect, because I think color is actually part of the concept here. Now we have mood, we have atmosphere, we're starting to kind of work with things. And once we have that, like, where do we want people to look? Maybe we want the Harrison Ford character, who we don't know is Harrison Ford. It's just a guy in a trench coat, which has its own kind of seedy kind of connotations, right? But let's find a light source for the replicant here. And we can start kind of building this up.
Now, someone out there watching this who doesn't do thumbnailing pretty often, they might feel compelled to zoom in on the image and working it in that way. That's not the point of this. Working small and being separated from the thing by distance and scale is one of the strengths of this kind of process. You shouldn't be making super fine decisions about small details and stuff. That's not what you're doing here. That's for later.
Yeah, and this is you're trying to figure out if this is interesting to you. Like that's the first bellwether. Like, is it like is it a good idea or not? Well, if you have no interest in it, then like you don't want to paint it, then it's not going to go anywhere. But if you start getting excited about it, you're like, you know what, this is something that kind of has some legs to it, then we can pursue it further and refine
Yeah.
it more. And I draw sloppy sometimes, but not this sloppy. This is just kind of in front of you all.
I think that I think has come up for me whenever I try to think about thumbnailing, the strengths of it and what the purpose of it is. There's the classic idea of if it works at small scale, it works large scale. The other thing that I think of for that is if you look at it as this super small thing where you don't see any of those details and you're just judging the composition and other like the structure of the thing, that's essentially how people see something when they see it at first. When you first see a movie poster from far away, or if you just see like the icon of an app on your phone, you have to be able to read it with immediacy and separate it from others. Otherwise, it's a weak design. And that's what thumbnails get to do for you. You get to experience it as another person experiencing it for the first time.
It's you're 100% on target. And NC Wyeth, his teacher, the great Howard Piles, I'm saying that right. It doesn't sound right saying it, but anyways, he would say that you wanted to kill at 30 yards, 20 yards, and 10 feet, right? So you start to think about this thing as you zoom out. It's a hard read for sure from that size, but you want those thumbnails to read in a posterized way where it actually has value, and it's like, oh, I can tell a figure is in front of another figure, and that call out to people, as Stephen said, is it just draws them in, and then you can give them more information, and then you can give them more information. So anyways, this is part of the process as you go through it and clean it up and send it back. You saw kind of what my cleaner sketches look like when I send them to a client, but I hope you all got something out of this as far as, oh, there was something firing in my brain from words to pictures to image where I started to compose things. That process is that is the heart and soul of what I'm doing as an illustrator working on movie posters and everything else. Like that's where you figure it out. You develop them, you package them up, and you send them out to the art director. Then you get feedback, and it's usually like you send out 3 sketches, like, well, we like 1 and 3. Can you put them together? Or we like 2, which is fine. It's a collaborative process all the way through it. So anyways, I hope that makes some sense. It's not drawing magic, but it is very functional, and it's a way that you all can learn to take words and turn them into pictures that have value for people. So
yeah.
So anyways, that's kind of the thinking part. And with the time we have left, if it's cool with you, I'm going to kind of show you all how I made that picture and work through it. We use that for the thumbnail, and it's kind of a bit of a digital process that we might go through together.
Yeah, I would love to. Just real quick, I want to remind people that they can get a even deeper explanation of your process and some more of the tips and tricks that you've developed over years, how you view things, how you encourage that ideation for yourself from your courses that are 20% off right now during our Black Friday sale until December 4th. It's so much time for you to save and get this course that could benefit you pretty greatly. I think if you're watching this, if you're like me, you found yourself definitely edified, to say the least, on the idea of being able to encourage creativity from nothing. So go check it out.
Thank you, Stephen. And I would tell you, the biggest frustration I always had as an artist when I was starting out was like, I didn't know what to draw and paint. And now you have a process where you can ideate, and you will find connections of things that are meaningful, whether it's for a client or for yourself. Just try it. Try to find a word pairing. Like, even if you don't have a text to work with, I always advise starting with text. But if you want to get creative, come up with a word pairing, this versus that, break it down like I've shown you, and start to make connections. You'll feel your mind start to turn on, and you'll start to have ideas that kind of come out of that process. So it'll get you over being stuck. And when you're a professional, you don't have that option. You have to turn it on when it's time to go. So this is kind of what I do. But Stephen, thank you for that mention there. couple things to share with you. I'm working with artboards in Photoshop. If you don't know artboards, it's this little version up here. And what's cool about artboards is I can go into them and just click on it. And it gives me a new canvas each time. So
Interesting. It's a built-in function?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh.
It's just like if you hold that down, different ways to get to it. But what's cool about it is that I can then export all the artboards as separate files. So if I'm working on case studies or variations of things, it's a way of working instead of doing everything in layers where you lose sight of what you're actually trying to say. You can go through and see everything at once. I can't overstate the importance of seeing, like, here's one version, here's another version, here's this, and then have a workflow where you can just save them and output them as JPEGs or PNGs or whatever you want. So
yeah, no, it's really cool. I did not know about this.
And now we know.
Sterling, I think you should make a short about this.
Okay, cool. We'll do it. I'm going to close these out, and we're going to just work on this page here. Actually, I'm going to do this. Let me grab that artboard, and I'm going to work on this one as another option here.
I'm curious for the people in the chat out there. I'm curious if you guys found yourselves wanting to chase different compositions, if you imagine different things, and you were kind of hoping that Sterling would go down a direction that you were imagining something. Like one of you guys out there was like, no, there should be a double helix, and that should be in the middle of mitosis, and it's two faces. I'm curious about what you guys were picturing as we were going through the different, kind of like word clouds and juxtaposition of words.
Yeah. And I wish we had more time, because I genuinely love this stuff. Like, it's, when you start chasing things, ideas happen and things, you make connections. So sorry if
you're saying are you saying you start crafting ideas, like some sort of idea craft?
Indeed. Well, hey, I've got a few drawings here. These are kind of the student that was asking, or the professional could be, was asking about kind of getting obsessed with things and losing a passion and everything else. One thing I started doing is revisiting my sketchbooks. So I always go back to my sketchbooks. Like, there's so much fun stuff that I have in them, and some of these are from the actual other projects I've been working on. But to be able to kind of retool these things and find a way to bring them over and use them.
Oh, you can move back and forth dynamically between the artboards also?
Yeah.
Sterling, you just changed my life.
Yeah. So now you have like a reference board, and you can start to collage and bring things in. So let's take this. I thought it'd be kind of cool to bring in that horse and rider if I can find it. So this is an old kind of drawing from my head here. And this is when I'm kind of getting into ballpoint pen and sketching. It's like, well, let's take that, and I don't know if y'all know this mask feature here, but it lets us paint with black. And when we paint with black, it acts as an eraser, right? So it's a non-destructive way of working in Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want the horse and kind of the figure a little bit there. And I'm going to use this because it's a lot faster.
Indeed. Yes, this is you kit bashing some of your different sketches to kind of compose those together.
Exactly. So, you think about photo bashing, kit bashing, your other people's stuff and things you have. It's like, why not work with your own drawings?
Yeah.
And just, you talk about a fun way of working. It's like no pressure, I don't know if I've shared this with you, Stephen, but drawing in front of other people is like, it's a hard thing. It's not what I do. I'll do it at the university some, and I'll do it in live demos, but usually we're just off on our own, and we're drawing and thinking and taking hours to do things, not trying to impress people with like, oh, look how fast I draw.
Yeah, so, I'm a wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a person here in the chat. So Im had said, is it hard to sketch like this with an audience, considering the necessarily messy nature of it? Is it something you get used to as an educator?
Yeah, I appreciate the question and the grace there. It's it's a lot of pressure. I lost sleep over this demo last night, but I'm not particularly good at it. There's people who are great at it.
I think this is going fantastically for what it's worth.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. Technology and all, right? Let's see, what's that telling me to do? I got some weird prompt here on my other screen, so cancel. Okay.
So right now, the process you're going through, this isn't to chase the thing that we were just working on. This is just showing how you combine some of the sketches and what you would do with some of the things that you've made. It's just that you're not going to work up that other smaller one into something because of the time frame that we do have.
Yeah, and sorry to confuse it. In an ideal world, I would be doing Blade Runner and working through it and everything else, but it's I'm not that fast. We haven't got that much time, and it's just one of those things that this is kind of not that different, frankly, than what I did with The Lion in Winter. Right? I'd already done the drawings. A lot of that stuff was coming together and coming up with new compositions. So it's funny. I had not done that process before, and then I did a demo with my sketchbooks for students, and I was like, I can use that in a real job. So it's one of those things where even teaching, I'm learning all the time.
I think teaching is one of the best ways to learn.
Oh, it's amazing.
Personally.
Yeah.
If you have to explain something to somebody else, you find all the stuff that you don't know so fast.
It is, and it's I tell people that students force me to unpack intuition, and I never settle on intuition as, well, it feels right. I don't think that's very strong in the classroom. So it's like, well, but why does it feel right? Is it, we have these comparative things that are kind of working together. Is it because of contrast? Is it ideation? What is it that's kind of functioning to make that intuition look like magic from the outside sometimes? And really, to the artist, it's just like, no, that's just the logical way that you would move forward with something, because that's the next step. So I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but
no, this does. Yeah. The thing, Sterling, that I was recently forced with that I don't know while trying to teach is that I'm putting together a course of my own on some things. And I've been forced to reckon with the idea that I do not know how to do flash photography. I can do video, but everything that I do is with like consistent, like long-term lights. It's all video lights.
Right.
So yeah, I think I'm either choosing to acknowledge my weakness in this, or I go and learn that skill to then communicate it in tandem with everything else in that course that I'm making.
Yeah, it's nice when you get caught flat-footed and you're teaching too. And it's like, I kind of talked myself into a box, and it happens. I was asked to teach a concept drawing class in the university. It's like, I'm not a concept artist. At least at that time I wasn't. So I've been so afraid of being a fraud. Call it imposter syndrome or whatever it is. Like, I was on sabbatical at the university, and I was like, I better put a portfolio together and go out and become a concept artist. So I did that, and it was I was shopping my portfolio around. I was kind of having my friends who were concept artists saying, it's not quite right. You got to work on this. And then I finally got into a rhythm where I was able to piece enough things together. And I had a guy I know that's like, yeah, I'd hire you for this project. And I got brought into a film project, and got to work as a concept artist and kind of a lead artist on a project. And
hell yeah.
Like, I got to go in the classroom the next semester. I was like, I'm a concept artist. So
I did it, guys. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
You were talking. So this is, interestingly, this pairs with something that you and I were talking about before the stream today, where you were teaching a course that involves you at some point in that course getting people to go and sell art, to sell their stuff as an actual service or a product. Yes. Which is great for a course. I love that idea so very much. But you also, at the same time, went and started a new venture, and you get to go and report on how that went and the different aspects of that to them. After they present theirs, you'll also present yours.
Yeah. It's a high pressure situation. So I basically started a small business in front of my students who I was forcing to make their own small business, and launched a print company with my brother.
What's that print company? And is there a URL that I can provide to people on screen here?
Yeah, it's almostepic.co, so almostepic.co. And
All right.
right now it's just things that I have available. I've got some talks with other artists. We're producing giclées and screen prints, but we want to get into all kinds of collectibles. And I've definitely built it as a scalable business model. I mean, there's things that I really like to do with it. Sorry, I got something. I'm trying to find this layer, and that's one thing about Photoshop. I guess I hold Control, layer 18.
Oh, to find the layer. Yeah.
I got it. But yeah, it's we had our first 12 customers. I figured out the workflow and the pipeline with our vendors. We're setting up an LLC. I built the website. We're going through we are setting up an LLC. We haven't done it yet. Business name, working on our logo, which I still need to figure out. But it's a pressure cooker to do things in front of people, like start a business that could fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot. So I guess that's kind of my MO, Steven, as much as possible. I want to do things that are real and applied, and sometimes I put myself deliberately into tough situations so that I have to perform,
Yeah. No, I think that's the only way to really go through a thing, keeping yourself safe, like with any sort of lack of creative risks or risks in general. Don't get me wrong. You can maintain something if you need to maintain it, but save that for those things that you need in life, like finances and stuff like that. But for other things, go and explore. Put yourself out there, do some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
how you learn.
that's what makes an interesting life, and ultimately what we do as artists is we try to lead interesting lives and make art about it,
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole
Absolutely.
That's the whole model. Like, let's go out and develop opinions and ideas and thoughts, and find new discoveries and bring new information back to people and show them. Like, that's a pretty cool call to purpose in your life,
Mm-hmm. Now I'm curious. So for this process that you're taking your sketches, the older sketches, and you're kit bashing them, this would be similar to what you'd be doing if you were working with the things that you made while like ideating and working around the concepts that the brief makes you think of. Do you often find yourself starting from an idea and then putting it together, or are you more often just kind of grabbing things, throwing them together, and even keeping something like it is here, like where it's so right now when you pulled the two different sketches together, I would say the two main sketches, the horse and like the tree from the background, there was like a cool warm difference to each of those. Will you maintain that, or will you just move it around as you see fit?
It depends. If they don't sync, right? So they feel like they're at odds with each other, like the face and the hands here. They're probably not connecting. I shouldn't even have brought color in yet. What I should do is something like this.
You want to get that working in grayscale first, or?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I should have done. So hue saturation, and I'll just kick my my saturation all the way down on that. And I can delete this here.
Oh, you painted on a different layer, Sterling.
Okay, but it doesn't matter, right? Like it's I remember walking through a museum and seeing like a Van Gogh painting, and this was before I appreciated Van Gogh. No, it's on. See, look at you. A hard time. But what made me fall in love with Van Gogh was like seeing the mistakes that he made and the layers of paint and everything else. So the maturity of a painting, it only happens through those decisions to add and to subtract and to kind of keep going back and forth. Certainly the paintings that I like to look at, which are, there's some risk taking in it. There's some things that it's not just a formula. It's not an academic observation. It's a deviation from the observed. And that's where that voice and that kind of style kind of comes through. So yeah, it's to me at this stage, like there's no risk, right? I mean, like I can always go back to something and develop it later and bring another drawing in. Her torso is way too long here, so I got to kind of bring it down. I mean, there's no risk in it. That's all.
Mhm. There's a question.
Go ahead.
No, feel free to finish your idea here.
I was just saying, even like when there is a risk to my work, I would much rather kind of push the limits on things and discover something new than fall into a pattern of just repeating myself and doing the same thing over and over. That would be the death of me as an artist. That's a model that works for some people where they go deep into something and they find like crazy nuance. And to me, like the medium amplifies the message. Every new thing is a new chance to bring something in and learn something. So you have to kind of ask yourselves what kind of artist that you are and that you want to be. And there's no right or wrong answer to it. It's how you're wired. So what was the question there, Steve?
So Moe in the chat was asking, do you feel getting an image right gets easier with experience, or do you still have moments where you fight a composition or an artwork feels hard to complete?
Yes, every painting is hard for me. I shouldn't say there's never an easy one. Sometimes, like, why am I working so hard? This is coming together really fast. I actually had a demo the other day that I did that's like, this was easier than it usually is. Why is that? But my most meaningful work, and I mean the most meaningful to me, has come from some huge friction and effort that I've put into something and I've broken through. Like I can go back and cite some of my favorite pieces or all of my favorite pieces, and the ones that matter to me are the ones where something shifted and I had a major aha moment and discovery. This is going to sound weird. I don't love painting. I love ideating. I love drawing, adept at painting. But painting is hard. It's like, I'm going to go run a marathon today by myself in the isolation of my own studio and face my own fears and shortcomings and do something I probably am not going to like. It's hard. Painting is hard.
Absolutely. It's arduous. It's like that. It's that Sisyphus rolling a boulder up the hill every single time.
Every time. And even I would say that in response to that question too, it's like the analogy I try to give a student or someone who's learning this stuff is like, it doesn't matter if you're, drawing like Kim Young-ji or you're starting out, like you're only able to take the drawing or the painting as far as you know how to take it. And we all hit that same point of frustration. Like, I don't know how to make it better. And I think that with time and practice, you learn some tricks on how to make it better. Or, I mean, tricks is the wrong word because it's not tricks, but the process and technique.
You identify the paths towards it.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question there a little bit.
I think it does. Yeah. And I think the one thing that I want to make sure for the person for Moe asking this question is more that you don't view it being hard or having to fight the thing as being an inherent negative.
Right.
Like, I think that in some ways you find that being a strength. You discover a new thing along the way.
Yeah. And thank you for clarifying this. I say things sometimes it's like, man, that sounds like he doesn't like photography. Like that. No. It's not what I meant. But it's, I like playing chess. And I like playing chess because it's really hard and I'm terrible at it. I like rock climbing because it's physical problem solving and it's really hard and it's arduous. I used to run a ton and I don't anymore because it was hard. I like doing difficult things and making pictures, illustrations within limitations and things like that. It's like, it's crazy hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for the people I know that do it professionally. I want it to be hard, not out of some romantic ideal or something like that, but I want it to be hard because it means I'm learning. And maybe ultimately, Stephen, that's it. I love learning. I love discovering and having that chance that, something shifted in my mind and I've leveled up a little bit today. And those are all exciting things for me. I live for it,
I think that's definitely even though I have like a sales banner on the bottom of the screen right now, um, this isn't a pitch for your courses or anything, but I think that's one of the things that is the strength of the courses that you do have. That you, whether those are the things you have online or the times that you teach in person, I think something that you teach people is the idea of how to learn and how to explore. It's not about like, this is how you move your pencil in this way, though they'll gain some of those skills along the way, certainly. But I think that you step outside of those technically recognized, or the typically recognized technical proficiencies, and you move into the space of helping people develop like what is it, like the soft skills, I guess, is the idea, the developing those pathways in their brains.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, it's I would argue that those types of things are the essential skills, right? And especially as we're getting to a place where, you know, we're all concerned about technology and generative AI and whatever it feeds into next. People are losing their jobs. It's like, well, what's the high watermark of what has value in the world? It's not how you draw. Like, I'm sorry. It's like that's a skill set that you want to earn so that you can do something with it. But the things that people get hired for, the way that they think, the stories, the ideas, their distinction, what they do that's novel and different from others. And that's what I try to encourage in students is like, we want artists, like we need artists in the world who are doing new things and finding new connections and new opportunities and new voices. I mean, can you imagine a world where we stop being motivated to be individuals? Like that's the life of an artist, is go do something remarkable with your life and make pictures about it or stories about it or whatever it is. That's I believe that to my core, you know? So,
well said. Little Beacon Arts had a question here about something that you had mentioned earlier. He said, "Hi, Sterling. Would you be able to speak more on the bonfire analogy from earlier? How might it apply to setting goals for a new project or even in a broader sense, a career in illustration?"
Great question. If I can share like a story with you all. So I built this company called Legendeer, and Legendeer was we would take artists out into the wilderness, into expeditions. We would start in like San Francisco and do a conference, and we would take a bunch of people out to Yosemite. We did Zion, and we did Banff, we did Oslo, Richmond, the New River Gorge. A big part of it for me was, you know, being in a place where I was sitting on my butt all day. I grew up camping and being outdoors, and I was just stuck inside. And I saw students trying to create authentic stories from watching other stories and watching other stories. And it just became this kind of rhythm of people taking too much and interjecting too little of their own into it. But you know, that process of kind of going through starting something was critical to the students I was teaching at the time. And now I've talked myself into a hole where I forgot the original question. Sent me off on a tangent. I'm trying to draw and talk. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
So you were wanting to address the bonfire analogy of adding something in.
Thank you. So Legendeer to me was really going to my wife and having, "Hey, I've got this idea. I've got this other idea. I've got this idea." And she said in very colorful language, "Just pick one." And because I was driving her nuts because I was doing like so many things. And what I realized is that I had to scale back and find parallels between things. So I talked about folding things into other things, and I had to create an idea that was big enough that all of my ideas could fit into it. So Legendeer was that idea. It was like, oh, I'm improving my mind, body, and health. That was important to me. I have relationships that I'm building with my family, with my friends. I could hire my brother. I could bring my parents into it. My kids could be part of it. I could do art and business, which was kind of the crux of the business itself. And then recreation, which I had no time for recreation. And at that time, my health was terrible. no time for recreation. I was just doing old projects. So it was recognizing what problems I was facing and then trying to create a really big solution. And it all came from a question. Can I bring these things together? I had no idea what the business was going to be. Didn't know what the name was or anything else. And I was in a place in my life where I was properly motivated. I'd helped create an art college. We got fully accredited, and it ended up going down in a rain of fire.
That's how that can go sometimes.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. And I was like, I'm never going to give myself over to someone else's dream again. I'm going to make my own thing. What would it be? So I was properly motivated. I was really distressed. I had no money. I was in a bad situation. Like, I was trying to take care of my family, and so I'm going to build something. What is it going to be like? So the bonfire became the big thing that everything got pitched into. So instead of starting one fire, I was like, I could do this thing, part of Legendeer. I could do this thing, part of Legendeer. And yet it changed my life, that perspective of having a huge fire in one direction. So everything that I did started to add up versus just starting new fires everywhere. Right. So
okay.
I hope that analogy makes sense.
No, I think this makes sense. There was to kind of add a thing into there. One of the things that the person had asked in the question, they asked, how might it apply to setting goals for a new project? So what you said there was the idea of there were many things that you wanted to do, and you found space inside of a thing that was going to happen essentially one way or another. You found a way to explore and add those things into that larger project. So it's not that you were necessarily going and taking those mini tiny fires and just putting them into the one willy-nilly. Like, you found an actual home. I'm sure that there were some things that you had to turn down that you would otherwise have been interested in that did not go into that new venture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think one interesting thing for a person who, like you yourself, Moy, who might be getting offered some project thing from someone who it's not something you're necessarily fully interested in, but like maybe it pays well enough that you need to consider doing that project. Find the space to explore a thing that you want to do and you have an interest in, and put that into a project that otherwise will still pay your bills. Like, for me personally, there were times when I got offered something that I didn't think that I necessarily already had the skill set to achieve, but I think I felt I could find my way there. But I, in that space, explored a new technical skill and came out the other end having learned it because someone was essentially paying me to learn that skill. I think finding those opportunities for yourself, or making those opportunities out of the opportunities that have already presented themselves, is incredibly important.
Stephen, the really awesome advice. And, it's, I feel like we're speaking the same language with that. Like, learn how to take the situation and break it down into something that's going to benefit you in a way where you can learn something and do something new. And when I was starting out my career, September 11th happened, and everyone's career started. So it's not woe is me, but I was like, what am I going to do now? And I started working at a gym. I was like, well, why a gym? I was like, I wanted to get in shape. I wanted to take care of myself, and I wanted to, be in a good place physically and kind of double down. But that's what that job gave me. It put me in the right context, in the right place. I think to take it further with the question, that's literally what Voice is about, is trying to figure out how to take all of these client projects, which seem disconnected, and figure out how to actually ask the right question so that every project that comes through has a common thread to it. So the analogy that I use is like, it's more akin to, I relate the creative process to the scientific method. You have a hypothesis, and you're going to test that hypothesis through experimentation. Ask a big question with your art. Like, what do you want? Is it line versus tone? Is it man versus machine? Are there themes that you're interested in that are technical or conceptual? Identify things that compel you. And then every project that comes through, try to push it a little bit further. Like, well, line versus tone. I'm going to try that experiment, that technique, and that approach on every client piece that comes through.
Mhm.
And you'll look back on a body of work and be like, oh, they're connected. That's a portfolio. So those are the right things, I think, to kind of ask. And Stephen, you answered it better than I did, but
No.
it made me think of that. That's the whole purpose. So the connection with Legendeer was like, I asked a really big question and all of my efforts funneled through trying to find the answer. Ask the question with your art. Every client project and drawing that comes through is like, it's leading you towards something. But yeah, voice does that. It literally breaks down a system for doing that. How do you ask the questions and everything else? So
Yeah, I included. There was a link on screen for you guys if you were curious. That's a course of Sterling's that was the first one that you brought to Proko, right?
Ideacraft was first, and then
Oh, goodness.
voice was the the in sequence. The 3-sided box and everything I'm kind of touching on here. It's introduced like ways of thinking and when to use conceptual thinking versus narrative thinking, the difference between them, and then it scales up. And there's eventually a class coming out that's called Vision, which is the final piece in that ties it all together. It's not out yet, but it's I've already built the course. It's kind of I got to bring it up to standard for Proko, frankly. Like it's out there, but it needs some demos and it needs some more hands-on types of things with it. But the course exists, and those three things together, they're designed to work as 3 6-week courses. So this is the professor and me trying to develop a curriculum where these things complement each other, and altogether it's like a semester at a university, right? So
Heck yeah, I love it. So here, I wanted to call attention back to the piece that you've been working on. So there were some color bars, I think, to the right. Is that intended to be part of the composition? Oh no, I think that was accidental. I actually did like it though. At one point, the way it was being displayed within the window.
oh shoot, I messed it up.
No, yeah. So where you're at with this, if this was you taking the concept from earlier where you had done that kind of like the word columns to find your idea, you thumbnail, and then you get to this spot, where would you say this is in the process of sending ideas off to a client, developing that final piece? Is this more in that final area? Would you have sent the thumbnails to the client or something more like this?
This could be a thumbnail for sure, right? So if I went through and kind of sketched out some things on the ground and gave a little more context, you'd have to put it into a box, right? Like we forget about like the design. Like we talked about an 18 by 24 inch poster, if that's kind of the premise we were going with on this one. There might be the need for a shadow down here, but we're starting to get to a composition, right? And we can go back to this and clean it up for more of a client kind of approval here. And you just like, you want to do things in value versus line, because how much clearer is this than kind of where we started, which were the sketches and the icons. And I know it was a different setup, but that to me starts to be a nice thumbnail. Like that's a pretty strong, and it's got better drawing in it than a lot of my thumbnails do if I'm not looking at a source material, right? So, but you can get a sense of light and shadow, and if this is for the same client, this was the line in winter or whatever it is, I'm going to go through and kind of lay in where the type is going to live, and it doesn't have to be super fancy or anything like that. But all you're doing is you're informing them where you think the type might go. But they're not critiquing the font or anything else, or how.
Yeah, they're like, the line quality isn't where we would want it to be, Sterling. Could you do another?
Exactly.
No.
But it's like, okay, those scribbles, they get, there's going to be a title there and everything else. This would be totally fine for a thumbnail, and so. Anyways, I'm bashing together a lot of things here. The color and everything else that I have in the other piece. I mean, that's kind of a fun stage to kind of get into. Next, we got 8 minutes left, so we're. Is that right? We go to 3 today. Cool.
Yeah, if that works for you,
it's great. As long as everyone who's here got something out of it. I mean, that's all I care about is
I think so far. Everyone's been having a great time. At one point, they thank you for your recent advice in here. And then earlier on, they had mentioned that it was essentially just a free live workshop that you're doing here today, which has been fantastic.
cool. Well, good. Thank you. Thank you. That makes me feel good. I'll leave here not totally embarrassed by the technology.
Again, Sterling, no one will know. The only time that they're going to know that there was a tech hurdle that happened is right now when we're mentioning it. That will be gone in the VOD later.
Cool. Well, these people, the folks that are here and good enough to be here in real time, they know. They'll never forget. So, anyways, I feel like it's kind of. I tell people it's like trying to get my parents on the phone and trying to walk them through an email problem or something. It's like, just push the button, Sterling.
There was. Oh,
Go
good.
ahead. I was just saying, I'm dropping some color in here just because it's fun to see what that does against the grayscale, and brings it to life. And I'm thinking more as a painter now than anything else, where I'm kind of just working with some shapes and some abstractions, and so fire away on the question there.
Oh, so I only have one last question here. And this is going to be one that I think the person called out accurately. Level in the chat asked, it might be controversial, but AI has influenced the job market for illustrators deeply. Do you think that the future is to embrace AI in the process in some way, if only to eliminate AI ideas AI might have? So I think that they're trying to put forward this idea of asking the AI for ideas, and then you use that as your no column.
Maybe, I'm not going to balk at this question. As an illustrator who believes in our personal voice, and more importantly, as this isn't the same in all countries, and I know we have an international audience here. One of the promises in the United States, and the reason that we innovate so well, is that you should be able to profit off of your talents. And as somebody who's been ripped off a lot over the years prior to AI, it's painful and it's hurtful, and I am not an advocate for it there. That said, I think that AI is an undeniable force in the world that I don't know how we avoid it. There are ethical uses of it. I also work in the hospitals, and I'm working on things like we're working with burn patients and anaplastology, kind of pushing into that area. Mm-hmm. There's things I'm doing with photogrammetry that are 100% using AI already. Yeah. There's things in Photoshop that you don't even know that you're using AI. There's search engines that are using AI. So
it's those different iterations of AI, because people talk about AI as this like monolithic thing where it's just AI, but machine learning is a very different beast in different ways. Autofocus on your camera is technically often an AI process. Yeah. It's been trained with machine learning to identify different objects and things.
Yeah. So great point. And it's one of those things that's been around in some form for a long time. So I'm not giving it a pass. I think that AI machine learning has the capacity to solve some of the wicked problems in the world. And working in the hospitals, like I fully expect that there's going to be some doctor that works with machine learning to figure out how to cure cancer or some horrible illness. And I can't speak against that. So there was some huge breakthrough in fusion technology like 2 years ago. And I listened to the press conference, and the lady who was running the lab said, with the aid of machine learning, there it is. So it's one of those things where if you're asking about illustration and the future of illustration, I think that we have a hard road to toe, right? It is very difficult. What Steve and I were talking about before you all came in, I'm going into 1,000 different directions with first stage prototyping, with visualization, with photogrammetry, Gaussian splats. I'm just curious about stuff, and I'm getting involved with some really interesting projects that a lot of them still start with drawing, because I'm the person in the room who can say, I've been sitting in rooms with NASA scientists before, and there's a big conversation about a thing, and I'm like, do you mean like this? And I get up on the whiteboard and I show them, like, no, that's not it. That's not it at all. But a no is better than a maybe. And then I iterate and like, maybe. And then it's like, then my colleague gets up and he draws something like, we've never thought of it that way before. Right? And that literally is a scenario that happened. And I think that you have to remember that as artists and illustrators and visual communicators, it's a whole other side of our brains that people have turned off. And it is fundamental to human evolution as anything that has existed. You know, words are pictures too. We forget that. Like letter forms are literally pictures that we've ascribed sounds and symbolism to. You put them together in a certain sequence, you juxtapose an A and another letter and this other letter, and you have a word that means something. What I'm talking about doing with pictures is literally the same thing. You juxtapose visual icons, and together they start to mean more than they do in isolation.
Agreed. Yeah, and the interesting thing about it is that anyone else can, like, words are almost they are evocative of different ideas, but almost more in this like interlocutor kind of way rather than being a direct thing. Like I love that words are as nebulous as they are, but it's the only thing that we have to communicate the ideas between our brains. You know, it's wonderful. Even when you go to actually draw something that you envision in your brain, it still gets all beat up by your hands and changed. And then the way that someone else will process a line that you've made is going to be different for them based on their experience. It's wonderful.
It is. And the obscurity of it all is where creativity happens, right? If it was all clear and could communicate, we would say exactly what we wanted, and we would have these very linear lives. And but no, there's something very powerful to the faux pas, the mistake, the play on words and pictures and everything else. That's fascinating. So I don't dislike this little sketch right here. I think it's kind of cool in the thumbnail. Yeah. So it's all right.
It's worked out nicely. And even with just that lime green kind of color that's in the back, like that against the gray, even by itself would already be an interesting piece for me, you know?
Who knew? So and I just stole that from the other one. So
I want to thank you for the presentation today, man. I think this is one of the live streams that I think has been the most useful as something that can have a long tail. Demonstrating a process was fantastic to see here.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it, and I'm fearful of just coming out with words sometimes, but it's, again, if you want to be able to profit off of your talents as a visual communicator, your job is to take words and make pictures. And I know that AI does that, but I'm still John Henry out here just kind of fighting the steam engine. And but I think that we're going to have to be creative in business to kind of stitch it all together in how we approach things and bring creativity into different industries and markets. And I still believe in the power of drawing as magic.
Absolutely. Well said. I'm dropping a link in here for everyone who is in the chat. That is a place where you guys can find the courses that we have with Sterling. But if you can't afford a course right now, even though they're on sale right now for 20% off for the whole rest of this month and a little bit of next month, it's okay, because you can find Sterling online here at Sterling is Drawing on Instagram, as well as over here at almostepic.co, his new poster venture. It's a cool one. There's some cool stuff over there. I got to go look at that website for the first time here during this chat today. See if you can find the spot where I typed it in and I was like admiring the work on there. Yeah, I think just go out and make something today, guys. Like, use the processes that you saw here. Thank you again, Sterling. I appreciate it.
Stephen, great to be with you. Thanks everybody for being here. I hope it was helpful for you.